Namaskar, I'm Harpreet Kaur and I welcome you all to our online live and interactive session. This is our online training session under the umbrella theme of Artificial Intelligence or AI in Education. Well, this is a hot burning topic, I must say, and we all know that how AI is making its impact in our daily lives and how it's making its way to educational sector in a very big way. So we will be talking about today in day 2 about generative AI for teaching and learning purposes. Yesterday, it was the first day of the session where we kind of introduced the topic and we talked about evolution of AI in education, and today we are going a step ahead. This is a 5-day, 5-hour training session where each day 1 hour between 4 and 5 p.m. from Monday to Friday is dedicated to our online training session. This session is live and interactive, as I've already told you, which means you can also participate in the session and you can talk to our expert. You can send us your queries, your feedback, your suggestions as well. So you are watching us right now on PME Vidya channels from 6 to 12 and also on our YouTube channel NCERT Official. If you want to make us a call, our phone number is 8800440559. If you wish to write an email to us, the email ID is training.helpdesk@ciet.nic.in. And since you're watching us live on our YouTube channel NCERT Official, you can always go to the comment section, put in your questions there, your suggestions, your feedback, and get in touch with us. Since it's an online training session, which means there is going to be an assessment on the last day of the session. Yesterday, I told you about the website. All the details are there on CIET website. So make sure you go through them, you read them, and you participate in the assessment. If you score more than 70%, you will get a certificate. But before that, you need to watch all our sessions very attentively. So today, since we are going to talk about generative AI for teaching and learning purposes on day 2 of the session, we are joined by an expert who will guide us and show some relevant ways how it is there and what exactly we are going to cover in the session. We will talk in length about it. So let me introduce you all to our guest for today. We are joined by Dr. Shashi Kant Shankar. Sir is Assistant Professor from Ahmedabad University, Gujarat. Sir, namaskar and welcome to the session.
Thank you, Harpreet. Very welcome to be here.
Thank you so much, sir. Pleasure is all ours. And there's a lot of, doubt and a lot of curiosity in our mind to know about generative AI, because we have just been through the definition of AI and we've already, learned about its different components and how it is playing a very important and a relevant role in educational sector. So before I get into the question and answer mode, I want you to please tell us what exactly we are looking forward to in this session. What are the main points that you will be covering today?
Yeah, thanks, Harpreet. So first I will start with, the sketching the basic difference between traditional AI and generative AI, because yesterday already the speaker talked about traditional AI. So I will try to explain a little bit difference between traditional AI and generative AI. Then I will bring that how generative AI can help teachers in the future, for the teaching practice. And also I will bring some aspects that, how they can be applied into different scenarios for teaching and different kind of tasks that teachers do in every day. So this is the one thing. And then we will go into some common tools based on generative AI that learners, especially the students, can use, and how teachers can recommend them and how teachers can do the hand holding. And then finally, I will recommend some best practices and some cautions how to use the generative AI, because it's a new tool. So it's a very, it's a very right time to decide that how do we go ahead with generative AI into education. And finally, I will close with some final thoughts on the overall spectrum of generative AI for teaching and learning. So yeah, thanks, Harpreet. Yeah, this will be the overall outline of the workshop today.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that brief overview about the session. Now, we all have heard about AI, but generative AI is a relatively new concept for people like us, for a layman like me. It's a buzzword, you can say. So how it is different from traditional AI, and also what about its potential application in the field of educational sector?
Yeah, so let me introduce again, or let me recall what we discussed yesterday. So, traditional artificial intelligence is based on mimicking the human intelligence. And when we say mimicking the human intelligence, then we basically focus on decision making. This is the first thing, that how humans decide.
Yeah.
And then solving some complex problems. This is the second aspect of the traditional AI. Then perform high level computations. So where the mathematical computation, and we want to replicate that mathematical computation into, from the computer science side. And this is a part of the traditional artificial intelligence. And the fourth aspect is about increased accuracy, so that we can reduce the human error as much as we can.
Right.
But if you focus on the overall agenda of the traditional AI since almost, I would say that 5, 6 decades, it has always been the focus on how to, replicate the decision making of human through the machines. But then a new kind of AI came, which is called right now generative AI. And as you highly mentioned, that it is about the buzzword right now. So generative AI, as the name suggests, that it generates.
Yeah.
So it's not only takes the decision, but it also generates something new. And what it can generate? So first, it can generate the text. So for example, if you want to write a story, now you have the machine that can write a story for you. If you
Yeah.
want to create some image, if you want to create some visual representation, then it can also do that. Then audio generation, then code generation. For example, if you are learning programming, and if you want your machine to write the program on your behalf with simple instructions, you can use the generative AI. At the same time, it can also generate the 3D kind of modeling and all. So what is the basic difference between traditional AI and generative AI? That traditional AI is mainly focused on replicating the human's decision making, but generative AI is going one step ahead of that. That
Okay.
it is not only based on the decision making, replicating the decision, human's decision, but it is also trying to generate some new content, and content can be text, multimedia, anything.
Okay.
So this is the basic difference. And then if we consider a classroom scenario, that how generative AI can be useful. So one thing we all should always, try to remember, that generative AI is in current state, it is going to be used as a co-teacher. So imagine that you are a human teacher and you want to delegate some of your tasks to the machine, because we have the machines that that can take the decisions, and also that can create some new content. So it will act as a co-teacher. And in what kind of activities it can act as a co-teacher? It can be, for example, if you are drafting some learning materials, then generative AI can do that. If you are writing some interactive dialogues with your students, again, we can do that with generative AI. If we are creating some creative examples or exercises, then generative AI can do that. So anything related to the text or anything related to the image or multimedia, and if you want to delegate your human task as a teacher to the machine, generative AI is there to help you.
Right.
Now coming to some potential applications of generative AI in education. So it can support personalized learning, it can support enhanced feedback, it can also create creative engagement. Then also it can help you as a co-teacher, as I mentioned, so it can work as a teacher support. And then context-aware curriculum design. So these are the different, potential applications of generative AI in education that are being discussed worldwide. And yeah, at the end, as we go further into this talk, we can explore some of these aspects. So yeah, thanks, Harpreet, for this question. So this is what I answer for this.
Right, sir. Thank you so much for shedding light on the specific applications of generative AI in teaching. We all know that as per National Education Policy 2020, we are also focusing, in including ICT in teaching learning scenario, whether it's blended learning, whether it's virtual labs, whether it's AR, VR. We want to make use of these technologies, and we want to, I would say, enhance the user experience when it comes to personalized education in this context. So what about the specific applications of generative AI when it comes to learning, because it will definitely help our teachers to understand that how these applications can be used for the students, and further it will enhance this teaching learning experience both ways, sir.
Yeah, so first of all, when we talk about generative AI in teaching, so let's say that, as I already mentioned, that it is like a co-pilot for the teacher right now.
Yeah.
But you should also remember, and I would suggest all the teachers to remember, that this is a technology which is not fully developed and tested yet. So that's why we are using the co-pilot. So it is not going to be autonomous pilot, but it is
Yeah.
a co-pilot.
Right.
Okay. And now it can, I have divided all the potential applications in three areas. So first of all, it can help you for the content creation. Second, it can help in the personalization, and third, it can help in the administrative efficiency. So for example, many teachers struggle with a lot of administrative efficiency. For example, they have to grade the students assignment. At the same time, they have to take the attendance and so many things. So we have a technology that can tackle some of your tasks automatically rather than humans involvement, and we will see one by one. So if I go first into the content creation, so for example, I have taken the first application as the content creation, and here generative AI can write the lesson planning on your behalf, and it can also generate the resources. And when I am saying generate the resources, it has to be evaluated by the humans. It's not like a blind faith on the generative AI. So we are saying that you use the generative AI to generate the resources, but you also evaluate them by keeping the humans in the loop.
Yeah.
So it can generate the lesson plans, it can generate teaching materials. For example, if you want to create some quizzes in your classroom, if you want to create some slides for your classroom, if you want to create some polls for your students. So these kind of things we can give to the generative AI tools, and it can do it very easily and in a very fast manner without any technical hurdle. At the same time, it can generate the visual and textual content. So for example, to demonstrate that how should we do it, so for example, there is a generative AI tool which is called ChatGPT. You can see the logo and the URL there. It's chatgpt.com. So for example, suppose you are a history teacher and you want to write a draft of an essay on World War II, and you want to use this sample essay, and you want to circulate this sample essay to your students, and you can ask them that, okay, just follow this sample essay and you can write the your assignment of essays. So how to do that? So I will show you. So this is the ChatGPT engine. So here you type chatgpt.com, and then you will get this kind of engine. And what you need to do that you just basically write what I discussed. So here you go and type. So for example, I've already written it. So what I am writing, that draft an essay on World War II, including a timeline, trigger points, and critical discussion. Now you can ask me that, okay, why did you write the last three parts, the timeline, trigger points, and this critical discussion? So here the key is, or here the one of the strong remark is, the more you are specific in giving your prompt. So the text that I am writing on the ChatGPT, it is called prompt. So the more specific you are in the prompt, the better result you will get.
Okay.
The more fuzzy you are in the prompt, the worst outcome you will get.
Okay.
Okay. So suppose I write this and I enter, then what will happen? It works like an automatic machine. It works like a gene. So it will automatically write a very nice essay on World War II. So you can see that it is writing when the World War started, was a major timeline, what happened in 1933. Then it goes and goes and goes on. It can take, I think, maybe a few seconds, and it will complete the essay. It can also raise some critical discussion that, okay, what kind of ideological differences were there, fascism, communism, liberal democracy, and all. So you can see that writing this kind of essay as a teacher, even you are expert in history, it will take you at least half an hour.
Yes.
Right? But you can see that this engine wrote this essay on just one line of input, which is prompt. So I gave the prompt of one line, and it wrote almost 2 pages in just maybe 5 seconds, right? Yeah. So this is the one application of generative AI that we can use to content, to create the content, generate the content, and something like that. So and teachers should feel creative ways. So it's about creativity, and it's also a science. So you have to get familiar with this kind of tools.
Yes.
Now the second application, it is about personalization in teaching. And what I mean by personalization, so for example, you want to create some differentiated instruction. So suppose you have the different kind of students in the classroom. Some students are smart, some students are slow, some students are in the middle. So how do you provide the differentiated instruction? So for that, you need a different kind of instructional resources. So this we can also do with the generative AI. We can create that kind of content. For example, we want to give the student a specific feedback. So suppose one student wrote a very nice essay, but their comprehension was not good. Another student wrote the same essay, and his or her comprehension was good, but the grammar was not good. So now you want to provide the feedback from the grammar side to one student, and to the second student you want to provide the feedback from the comprehension side. So this can also be done by the generative AI. And then some adaptive learning paths. So for example, you have the different students and you want to explain them that what should be the next learning pathway for you. So you can also do with this generative AI. So this is the second category of application that teachers can try for generative AI. Now here I have put the another use case. So for example, suppose you are a math teacher and you want to provide some mathematical problems to your students depending on their different levels. Suppose some are the advanced students, some are the sitting on the lower level. So there is a tool called Khanmigo, and you can see the URL. It's called www.khanmigo.ai, and I will show you how to use Khanmigo. So when you go to the Khanmigo, you will find this kind of interface, and here you go it for sign up for free, okay, for teachers. For students right now, it's not available in India. So that's why I have recommended it, because I am recommending for the teachers. Okay. Once you click here, then you will come here and you click on start using Khanmigo. And then you can see that it has n number of tools. For example, chunk text, class newsletter, class snapshot, so many things. Okay. Now what I want to do, I want to create some quiz. So I will go into the create. Then I will find some tools here. For example, here is the multiple choice quiz. I go there and I type, for example, I want to create questions related to algebra, mathematics, okay? And the moment you write algebra, you will see all the levels of algebra here. So for example, I select the class 6 algebra 11.1, then I want to create, let's say, 10 questions, and I click on start. So the moment you hit on the start button, the engine works and does the magic in the background, and then it will come with the 10 quiz questions with all the ABCD, answers, and also it will write the, the right answer, that which is the right answer key. So you can see that it has already created the 10 questions. It is giving the right answer for every question, right? Now here, one thing is very important, that even the tool is suggesting that this tool needs your expertise to be excellent, and be sure to double check. And I'm again emphasizing on this, that whatever the engine or whatever the tool is generating, either it is the content or the quiz or anything, without your evaluation, without teachers being in the center, don't put anything to the students until and unless you evaluate each and every text very carefully. So yeah, this is how you can create the 10 questions, 20 questions, 100 questions for the students very quickly. Okay. Now let's go to the third application area. Third application area is administrative efficiency, and here we can talk about some time-consuming tasks for the students. For example, automated grading. If you want to grade some students' assignments, you don't have to now grade it manually by 100 students looking to their awful writing and whether you are not able to understand that what they wrote and all. So these all things can be done automatically. Then parent-teacher communication. For example, if you want to write a letter to some student's parent, you can quickly go to the generative AI and ask that, okay, I want to write a letter for a student named, let's say, X. Then this can be done. Similarly, scheduling and coordination. For example, you want to schedule some projects on some certain timeline and manage some projects. So this can be done again with the generative AI. Now I have used another third use case, which is related to the this particular application. So for example, you are a language teacher and you want to grade your student's essay, let's say. So for that, there is a tool called Humata AI, and Humata AI URL is listed here, humata.ai. How does this tool work? So first you go to the Humata AI, and this is the engine. So here it's, you can see the interface humata.ai. As you click on the login, then it will ask you your personal login details. The moment you click on that, so for example, I have already uploaded one essay from one of my students. I want to ask about this essay. Okay, so you just upload this essay and you ask. Okay, so suppose the same essay that I asked to ChatGPT to generate, so the same outcome is there about the World War II. which is in the file. So I uploaded the file, and then this Humata AI is giving me the summary of that essay. Now I want to ask Humata that grade this essay, and grade this essay on some specific domains. So see, what I am asking, that grade the essay in the document by providing a score out of 10 marks. So this is the rubric. And also comment on a style. So writing a style should be commented, grammar should be commented, and argument strength should be commented. The moment you hit enter, it will evaluate the whole essay and it will give the score also. So for example, okay, there is, yeah, sometimes this kind of things might come, because as I mentioned that these are the, new things. So you should be careful. You have to try the different ways. For example, grade the essay mentioned in this document, let's say.
So you can't give just a hint to the
Yes,
software.
just
You
to,
have to be very specific about what you want, right?
Yes, you have to. The moment you become more and more specific, it will become, more clear and
Yeah.
more
It will
close to your
filter the
expectations.
information and give you the best result.
Yes, exactly. So, for example, I will try the third prompt, and yeah, sometimes it also happens because this kind of, this kind of engines are having a lot of users, so sometimes they don't work also. So it's very okay. Let me try again.
Yes, because again, this is also kind of a creative process. Keep on trying and give new questions and expect new answers, because this is so instant, and people are actually so
Yeah,
dependent on it
yes.
now.
And actually, what is the problem that you say when you will see this kind of engines are having so much overload, because when you
Yes.
understand, when you try to understand its the backbone from the computer science, they have so many things running in the behind. So
Yes.
when you write one prompt, you run huge computational power, and
Yeah.
sometimes they don't work on that.
True.
So for example, I will try again. So the moment you upload, you should notice here on the right side that it will take some time, okay,
Yeah.
because it is processing the whole file. So it will take some few seconds when it is processing. Once it is processed, then it will come ask. The moment you click the ask, then it will start again, summary.
Okay.
Okay. And then after summary, you can ask anything. And if it is not going to work, I will not spend much time here, but teachers can try on their own. And I am sure that it works. I have tested many times. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, the overall, what kind of real world use cases about generative AI that has come into teaching. So some success stories from the field that have already emerged into the research. It is about the flipped classroom, language learning, STEM labs. So for this kind of cases, generative AI is working very, very well. And so yeah, that's all about the application of generative AI in teaching. Yeah, thanks, Harpreet.
Right. So, I mean, this is something very beautiful that you have mentioned, and I believe that it is also important for people to know about this technology, because then what they can use it, in everyday teaching experience also. But this cannot replace the importance of a physical teacher in front of the student. But yes, it gives you instant feedbacks, and of course you can practice a number of times. You can get the best content, and the best part is that you also get an opportunity to rate it, whether the content was up to the mark or not. So you can give suggestions also, right?
Yeah, absolutely. See, well, this is a very important point that you raised, Arpit,
Yeah.
and I am again emphasizing again and again that this
Yeah.
kind of tools should not be used blindly.
Yeah.
They are a kind of your assistant, but they cannot replace you.
Yes. So
If you use it thoughtfully, then it can do the amazing beauty. But if you don't use it mindfully, it can do very adverse effect. So be very mindful in using this kind of tools.
right.
So humans in the loop should always be there.
True. So, because a teacher must know, of course, it's not always possible to authenticate the content on our own, especially when you're a student. So, teacher has to be there who can cross verify the content and can provide the right and accurate details to the students. Now, I'm sure you must be having some recommendations and suggestions for the teachers, or a word of caution while they would like to use this, in their everyday routine teaching, because these days we're talking about blended learning. So we have to integrate generative AI in our teaching learning scenarios. So what about that? How they can blend it in their everyday teaching, like teachers, what they can do about it?
Yeah, so before I go into the recommendation, I will quickly go into the generative AI in learning.
Okay.
So, what kind of tools are available for the students, and how they can use it, and how teachers can recommend these tools to the students, and also do the hand holding in the process.
Yeah.
So don't leave your students alone using these tools. So you
Yes.
have to be technically literate, digitally literate, to guide them in these tools also. So the
Yes.
responsibility and the role of a teacher is becoming more and more complex every day.
True.
So first of all, when it comes to the students, it's a personalized mentor. So in this way, generative AI is reducing the load of the teacher. So for example, as a teacher, you cannot be 24 by 7 with the students. You
Yes.
can be only with the students when you are teaching them for
True.
45 minutes or 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever. But when it comes to any doubt, when the students are at their home, how do you mentor them? At that moment you might not be physically available there, but there is some technology that can help them to as their mentors. And when we use the generative AI in this kind of a scope where we use generative AI as the mentor, then we have basically three categories for the students. So they can build their knowledge. Second, they can also do some skill development using generative AI. Then they can also control their self-paced and regulated learning. Now I will
Yeah.
show you quickly that how to do that. So for example, if they want to do some knowledge building using generative AI and different tools, so they can have dynamic study materials, they can generate the summary. So for example, there is a book, let's say of 500 pages, and they don't have time to read 500 pages, then a student can quickly go to this kind of tools and they can ask this 500 pages book, they can upload the book, and they can ask to generate a summary in maybe 5 pages, and they can read those 5 pages. So this kind of thing can be done. Okay, if they are going for the exam, before exam they want the explanation of some certain concept in deep detail, so they can use again the generative AI for that. So similarly, there is another aspect where generative AI can be used, and it is called conversational learning. So for example, you want to engage with the someone in your learning. Now you are at home and you don't have someone, you don't have siblings who is free to discuss with you. So what should be done? You can discuss with the machine. And this is very convenient, and this is very useful when you are learning language. So for example, if you are learning a Spanish and you want to speak a Spanish, and the best way to learn a language is to speak, right?
Right.
Now how would you practice Spanish when there is no one at your home to speak a Spanish? Then you have the machine. You speak as much as you can with the machine, and machine can, generative AI tools can always respond in Spanish. Then if you want to create some custom quizzes and flashcard, then again generative AI can be useful. So some tools I have listed here, just remarks here that most of these tools are free, but some of them are limited free. Limited free, when I say that, they allow maybe only 1 month trial or 2 month
Okay.
trial, or some of them may allow only few prompts per day. So
Oh.
for example, one is of course ChatGPT. Second one is Alpha Coders. Now, what is the use of Alpha Coders? Alpha Coders can be used for generating the wallpaper, images, multimedia, these kind of things. Then we have the third tool, which is called Gemini. Gemini is very useful tool for data processing and also writing the text. Then we have the Cohere. With Cohere, you can again build some nice solutions related to the generative AI. Then we have the Bardeen. Bardeen is very helpful when we want to automate some workflow automation. Then the last tool is Descript in this category. Descript can really do the video editing very, very automatically and very concisely and clearly. Then we have the second application, which is more about a skill development. In the skill development, what the students can do. So, for example, if they are learning programming, and for the programming, if they want to practice the coding and they want some feedback on the coding, they want to detect the some errors in their code, so we can use the generative AI. And then we have the creative writing, of course. In the creative writing, so for example, if you're writing an essay as a student and you want to, before submitting to the teacher, you want that whether my essay is right or not, or what is missing, you can ask the chat GPT or any generative AI tool to, comment on your essay. Then language learning, as I mentioned, that the best application, one of the best applications of generative AI right now is in language learning. You can use it as a conversational partner and also as a grammar coach. So pronunciation, grammar, everything can be improved with them. So again, I have listed some of the tools here. I am sure that teachers will feel free to go through each of the tools because they are on the slide. So feel free to use them, find some creative ways to, to come up with your kind of path, how to use them.
Yeah.
So first tool that I have listed in this area is the Copilot. Copilot is from the Microsoft and it can advise or give feedback on your text. Then the second one is the OpenAI Codex, which is very, very helpful for the programming. So for example, if you're learning Python, so I think 12th students in the computer science or 10th students, I think they have the Python as a computer science course. And they can go to this Codex, OpenAI Codex platform, and that will give you n number of solutions, automated codes, identifying the problems in your code and all this. Then the third one is sync.io. This is very helpful for the detecting the problems in the code. So that is third application. Fourth one is very important for the language, Duolingo. So it supports, I think right now it has more than 100 plus languages support. So you can learn 100 plus languages with the help of Duolingo. So right now you don't need any coaching or any partner to speak the languages. You simply go with the Duolingo and you can learn basically anything by sitting anywhere. That is the beauty. The only thing is that you need to have a smartphone and internet connection.
Good
That's
connection,
all.
yeah.
And then the fourth application is Memorize. Memorize is also for the language, but it is more about the European languages. And this has a very interactive ways to teach the languages. And then finally, you have the Mondly, which is again for the language, but it is more about gamification of the language. So when you are learning the language, then doing the gamification is the key for this tool. Then the third application area, which is more about the self-paced and self-regulated learning. So for example, when students are learning on their own, because maybe there are many students in India who are coming from the underprivileged area or a strata of the society, so they cannot come to the classroom very often. So they are, but they want to learn. So how they can learn, how they can regulate their own learning. So for that kind of students, we have at least three major categories. So they want to control their learning path, they want to personalize their learning path. So if you have that kind of requirement, then again, these kind of tools will be very helpful. Parent-teacher communication, if you want to deep dive, then we can also do that. Then the third one is the scheduling and coordination. So for example, you want to schedule your whole month that, okay, I will learn today this part, I will learn tomorrow this part. So rather than manually planning your calendar, you can ask this generative AI tools to plan your learning pathway. Now, again, I have listed some of the tools in this category. So first one is the quizzes. Quizzes can help you to generate n number of quizzes and also, assemble your calendar accordingly. Then we have the Eclabia. Eclabia is a very powerful tool for online test platform. And then we have the Book Lab. Book Lab is also for the interactive presentations, quizzes, blog writing. Then we have Asana, which is very powerful for personalized calendar management. Then we have a SketPal. A SketPal is a kind of interactive pal, and pal is a kind of peer. So if you are self-regulated learner, but you sometimes want to chat with another learner, then a SketPal can be one tool where you can go. And then finally, we have Trevor AI, which can be used for planning one task at a time in the calendar. So these are the some complex applications and some complex tools based on the generative AI that the students can use.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thanks, Preet, for this on the student side.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir,
So
for
do you
share.
want me to continue for the
Yeah, yeah.
recommendation?
Just one thing, that thank you for sharing this entire information, and also you're right that these generative AI tools are not just about learning; they're also about feedback, assessment, evaluation, and if you want to manage classroom activities. But you rightly said in the beginning, it's just a co-pilot. A teacher is still the captain of the ship. So, what are
Yes.
the recommendations and a word of caution for the teachers who want to integrate it in their everyday teaching learning experience?
Yeah, so I totally agree with you, first of all, that it is the co-pilot and we have to be very, very careful when we are using because it's not autonomous yet. And many
Yeah,
people might think that generative AI has come to this level of intelligence that it is going to replace the humans.
yeah.
But believe me, doing the research almost 1 decade in this area, I can say it very confidently that it doesn't even know 1% of the human intelligence.
So, jobs are
Okay.
safe.
So any from any point of the human intelligence, whether you
Right.
take the constructivist approach, cognitive approach, it doesn't matter. Generative AI, even the best of the best generative AI, they don't even understand the 1% of the human intelligence. Human intelligence is very, very broad and very big. So these machines are, they are learning very few things. So that's why I am recommending that when you use them, use it with a very thoughtful and mindful way. And
Okay.
especially at this juncture of time, it is very important for our teachers and for our students to use it very carefully because the technology is evolving right now. It's
Yes.
not evolved, right? So sometimes what will happen that they will give you completely wrong and rubbish things.
Okay.
So that's why I have a very strong recommendations here. So first I will go with the recommendations for teachers that how to maximize the impact of generative AI without being lost or without being feeling of the threaten. Okay. So first of all, start small. Okay. Don't think that you can replace all your activities or all your teaching purposes with the generative AI. Take at least 1 or 2 activities, and for that 1 or 2 activities of 45 minutes or 1 hour, even try integrating, generative AI. Okay, so this is the first recommendation, that is start small and start with this 1 lesson, 2 lessons, and then just get yourself attuned with the generative AI and how does it function, because it's a machine and it learns on your own, so it will understand you and you will also understand the machine.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the first step. Then when you start using, then always collaborate with the students. Don't think that the right now what is the situation about generative AI integration, that most of the students are using, at least in the universities. Okay, and they think that teachers don't know, and teachers think that the students don't know. So
Yeah.
they both are hiding to each other, but actually this should not be the way. The way is that you should start collaborating with the students. You
Yeah.
should explain to the student that, okay, I have created this material with generative AI. Students will also feel honest and they will come and say you that I have written this assignment with the help of generative AI.
Yes.
Okay. And there is no harm in opening up with each other. The
Yeah.
moment the harm comes when you try to hide that, okay, no one is ethical about the what is being used. So this is the another recommendation from my side, that when you use the generative AI for any purpose, you should explain to the students that this particular content or this particular essay or this particular assignment is created with AI or generative AI, and I want also you to incorporate the AI. And the third recommendation is about personalized learning. So when you ask your students, to give some individual feedback, tailored feedback, personalized for the personalized learning, I would ask all the teachers, all our audience to start using this kind of tools, so that though your students feel that our teacher is giving the feedback which is very, very helpful for me. Because earlier, for example, I am teaching a class of, let's say, 50 students, so I don't have time to go through the assignment of each and every
Yeah.
50 students, because grading the 50 assignments per day, it will be a nightmare. But now we have the tool where we can ask them to grade it. The only thing is that you have to put some effort in training that particular tool. Once it is trained, it can do it automatically. Then fourth thing is very important. I remember that yesterday Professor Sadraj was also saying about this, that to stay updated. Every teacher should, follow some reading materials on generative AI, that what is happening, how teachers worldwide are using the generative AI for their purposes, and how you can incorporate some of them. And also, if you find some creative ways of using generative AI, then share your creative ways with the community. Share your findings or lessons with other teachers.
Right.
Form some community, share the lessons from each other. Okay. And this is how we learn with each other. Otherwise, the teaching as a profession is going to be very complex in the coming future. At least this is what I see in my limited, understanding. Now, some best practices for generative AI integration, that how we can integrate the sorry, how we can integrate the generative AI for teaching. So first and the foremost is the ethical and responsible use. When you want to use the generative AI, be very, very ethical, and also you have the whole responsibility, because machine is not going to be responsible. Only humans are going to be the responsible. And now how we can, deliver that ethical and responsible use. So first one is the transparency. As I mentioned in the previous slide also, that when you are using generative AI for any purpose in your teaching, always inform to the students that yes, I have used the generative AI for this purpose. So this is called transparency in the broader sense. Then foster critical thinking. Ask students to, generate the questions. Ask yourself to generate the questions through generative AI outputs. So for example, if you are writing, let's say, or if you are creating the question paper for your students, you can give those questions to the generative AI and you can ask that what is the complexity level. And you can also explain that my students are at this level, reduce the complexity or increase the complexity. So this kind of things you should do, because right now what is happening as a teacher, that we are always practicing all the teaching on our own. We have been trained maybe 1 decade ago or 2 decades ago to become a teacher, but there is no one right now where we can interact. Only with the peers probably, but not more than that. So we have a solution right now where you can interact with the other tools and you can foster some critical thinking in yourself as a teacher, and you can also outsource that critical thinking through these tools to the students. And then the third one is more on the focus on pedagogical goals. And I would strongly recommend this to all the teachers, that please use different kind of pedagogy and try to implement those pedagogy with the help of generative AI. So for example, to teach any particular lesson, there are n number of ways how to teach that lesson.
Yes.
Okay. So for example, if I want to teach, let's say, algebra in the classroom or basic arithmetic in the classroom, so there are n number of ways to teach the basic arithmetic. I can go and lecture for 45 minutes continuously. This is one way. Second way is that I can ask the students to do the exercises while sitting in the classroom, and I simply go to each of the students and look at how they are performing. Third way is that I can ask the students to come on the front and teach the arithmetic to all the peers and also myself as a teacher. So there are different kind of pedagogy, for example, but how those pedagogies can be implemented using technology. So for example, if I want to do the flipped classroom, so is there any technological implementation in the flipped classroom? Can we do that?
Right.
So generative AI will give you very creative ways. So you can go to the ChatGPT and you can ask that, okay, today I'm going to teach algebra and I want to teach algebra using flipped classroom pedagogical approach. What are the different technologies that I can use in the classroom? You simply give this prompt, and I am sure that ChatGPT will give you at least n number of ways that how you can implement this flipped classroom through the different technology. And it will also suggest you some technology that, okay, you use this tool for that purpose and this purpose, that purpose. Okay. The fourth one is in the ethical and responsible use, encourage accountability. Okay. So a student should not feel that their responsibility or learning responsibility is machine's responsibility, because now they have the machine, so they should not feel that my assignment is being done by the ChatGPT, so ChatGPT is responsible for that. No, it doesn't work like that. So it's like a calculator and the human. So if I am doing some addition using calculator, it doesn't mean that calculator is responsible for my addition. If I give the wrong numbers in the calculator, obviously it will do the wrong number, right? So that's how you have to encourage the accountability. Students should feel the responsibility that they, for their learning, they are the responsible one. Some cautions and ethical considerations. So, for example, right now, as I mentioned, that generative AI is very much biased and it can generate a lot of inaccurate information. So, you should be very, very careful on these things. You have to check each and every fact, and that's why it's written at the last that always fact check. Second, don't over rely on the generative AI. Right now, it is still a machine, it is evolving, and it will take few years until it reaches to the saturation. So don't over rely on that. Humans are the best, intelligent creature on this planet, and no one is going to replace them even in the next, I don't know, 50 years or 100 years. So don't worry about that. Then data privacy. Be very, very careful about data privacy, because whatever the data you are giving to these tools, they are capturing all your data.
Right.
Okay. So be careful about that, because data privacy is a big, big concern, especially when you are not very much literate about data privacy.
Right.
Then finally, you should know and you should read more and more about AI limitations. That, for example, there is a term called hallucination, generative AI hallucinations. So teachers should read that what is AI hallucinations right now, because sometimes what happens that you will ask that, okay, give me the essay on World War, and it will write an essay on cow.
Absolutely. Right.
So this kind of things you have to be aware that AI has its own limitations.
Yes.
You might have seen already that when I was showing Humata AI, it didn't work. Even I gave 5 prompts, it didn't work. So sometimes it can happen. So they have their own limitations, because they are machines, they are evolving. Okay.
Yeah, and so because
so
now
that is the final thing from my side, Harpreet, about the cautions, recommendations, and best practices.
Right. Thank you so much, sir, for showcasing us the wide spectrum of AI, generative AI in educational sector. So we can say very comfortably that it enhances personalized learning. It is giving support to teachers. And of course, there is instant feedback. Student performance is increasing, and they can also choose their difficulty level. So I think generative AI is playing an extremely important role. And now I have to close the session because we have a dearth of time. But I would like you to give us your final closing remarks before I leave the session, sir. Please.
Yeah, thanks, Harpreet. So I will finish it quickly. So some very, quick final thoughts we have already discussed. So if you want to use it thoughtfully. If you want to ask your students or yourself, you want to use it, then balance responsibility and continual learning should be the approach in this whole integration journey. Right. So you have to find the right balance, that how much you want to outsource to the generative AI, how much you want to keep it to your side. Then one quote I would ask all the audience to remember, and maybe you can write it in your office or wherever: the technology amplifies pedagogy. It doesn't define it. Pedagogy is defined by the teachers, and technology can only amplify it. It is not going to replace you. Okay. So these are the 3 final thoughts from my side. Thanks, Harpreet.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing these important insights. We learned a lot about generative AI. I personally, learned many new things today. And of course, we have heard of ChatGPT. I have myself used it. I know how it is useful for me when it comes to my occupation and profession. But when it comes to educational sector, definitely it can create wonders in teaching and learning experience. So, Dr. Shashi Kant Shankar, thank you so much once again for your contribution to the session. We were extremely delightful, with your presence. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Harpreet. Take care.
Take care, sir. Yes. So that was day 2 of our online training session, where we talked about generative AI for teaching and learning purposes. And tomorrow on day 3, we will be talking about AI tools and techniques in classroom. It's going to be yet another interesting session under the umbrella theme of artificial intelligence, that is AI in education. And now, before I close, it's time for us to take a look at the schedule. Yes, these are the programs that we have broadcast since morning, and all these are uploaded on our YouTube channel, NCERT Official. You can go through them and you can download them for your reference. But in a short while from now, you can watch another live and interesting session of ours, and that will be Sahyog, where we will be talking about some really cool stuff. Yes, supporting healthy body image, because we have been listening about body shaming, we have been experiencing. That's why I use the word very cool stuff, because our generation, present generation, is so conscious about their appearance, and body shaming is a very, I would say, derogatory thing that is happening. Trolls are there, so we will definitely have a very interesting session on that. And with that, it's a wrap. This is me, Harpreet Kaur, taking leave of you. Please stay tuned with us for more educational programs. Take care. Namaskar.